That's funny.
I feel like
hello,
you have to tell
everybody.
everyone
We
watching
are
that.
live. I will tell everybody because he's going to show up anyway. So right backstage before we started, Sarah just let us know that our friend Alan said he was not coming today because if Sarah likes our books that we chose for her more than the books Alan chose for her last year, he will be very angry. So Alan, when you see this, hello, good game. May the best winners win. And also, you love Empire Black and Gold, and Ursula K. Le Guin's your new favorite author. So there you go. But hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm joined today with my friend Jake and my friend Sarah. We chose Sarah's TBR a long time ago in like December. And we collaborated to choose her TBR, and we each chose 2 books, and we had agreed on 2 books that were kind of a set. And we decided for Sarah to read them. We thought it would be fun because she did it last year with Alan, and it got pushed to February because she's busy, and then she can't read. So February turned into April. But we are finally here, everybody. So I'll let my guests introduce themselves, and then we can go into the books. Jake, who are you? What's your story?
I'm Jake. I do the thing where I read the books and then talk about the books. I picked books that are hopefully, all 5 stars. We'll find out. And I feel like this is actually mostly Sarah's show, so it's weird that she's introducing herself third since this is us talking about the books she read.
Right?
But you know what?
Well, she showed up last, so she's
that
on
is
the bottom.
true.
So.
She did.
Hey, Leo, how's it going?
Technical difficulties.
And I can't organize live streams, so I also didn't do that on my channel. Like, please help me, guys.
So I thought you had done yours with Alan's on your channel, but then I saw you did it on Alan's channel. I'm like, all right, for consistency, it's on the other.
I also
I'm
thought
glad
it was
it wasn't because you wanted to be nice to me. I'm glad it's because you wanted it to be consistent.
Consistency is important. Being nice, but consistency. We stand consistency.
I want to know which books. I don't think I know which ones you picked each. Can I guess? I'm assuming that Kyle picked Emperor's Soul.
Yes.
And Jake picked Curse of Chalion. Was that one of your like solo ones?
That
Did
is
you
true.
pick the Sarantine Mosaic together? Was that your 2 combo books?
Yeah.
Okay. So then Empire Black and Gold came from Kyle?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't read Empire.
That's the only one he hasn't read. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at the thumbnail, I actually just like parried them together and then put.
Oh, did you? I feel way less smart now. Oh no, maybe subconsciously I looked at it and I was like, I know.
It also, the slight hint was Kyle having not read Chalion and me having not read Empire Black and Gold. But Emperor's Soul is the one that realistically could have been either of us.
Either one of you guys.
I was trying to think of a short book because I knew that Sarantine was kind of cheating. And I was like, you need to experience a little bit more Sanderson. So I expect that to be first. But we'll see. So how we're doing this, we decided before, is we're going to start with the books Sarah enjoyed least all the way to most. Jake and I, before you got here, have already guessed what we think they're going to be.
I actually have them stacked here in the order I'm expecting to talk about them.
I want to see how.
Yeah. So you're going to see when you start talking about the books, if I can just yank the book, then you know I was right. If I have to like go adjust things, then you'll know I was wrong.
Then I'll know. Okay. All right. I mean, I feel like everybody will know which one came in last, but that doesn't mean I didn't like it, Kyle. I'm sorry. So the last one definitely was Emperor's Soul. That was the one that came in last place.
That's okay. I'm not surprised. Disappointed, but not surprised.
I will apologize in advance to Alan if he ever does watch this, because I did not DNF any of your books. And The Emperor's Soul was my least favorite, and I gave it 4 stars.
Huzzah!
We're doing well. Okay.
You guys
we're doing good. Yeah,
you did very well. So do you want me to just tell you the order before we then
we should. No, we'll talk about The Emperor's Soul and then we can go next. Yeah.
All right,
also, just for anyone who's worried, we're not going to do spoilers on the books. We're just going to talk about her general impressions. So don't worry about that, everybody.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Go ahead, Sarah.
So I read Emperor's Soul also in February when I intended to read all of these books. So it is the one that I read the longest ago. And I don't remember everything about it. I remember like my general impressions, and I brought it. So I still have it from the library, which I'm very sorry to the Gander Public Library, but they have now marked this book as missing, and I have to bring it back tomorrow. Please don't charge me the missing fee because I've kept it since February. I kept renewing it, but then the last time it wouldn't let me renew it. So also somebody else really wants to read this, and I didn't let them. So I'm just solidifying my reputation as the meanest Canadian because I'm now withholding books from people.
You're sabotaging Sanderson. You hate Sanderson so much that you're like, there's this other person who wants to read Sanderson. But I'll stop them.
Tomorrow. I brought it with me. I think it's the first one. Yeah, it's the first one in this book. So I will say, and I did hint at this on Chatting with Nuts, so I feel like it could have been, guessed at. I really liked this novella content-wise. I thought it was really cool. The ideas were really cool, which is always my thing with Sanderson. His ideas are so cool. I thought the execution was done really well. I liked the build-up and then how everything kind of plays out in the end. His writing just it hurts me sometimes. And I brought it because I was wondering if I could find something really easy in the beginning to be like, this is why I hate it. But now I'm on the spot. So I'm probably not going to be able to say why, but also that's probably too mean for a live stream. But
I don't think so.
There's just something about it. I did like it. And like I said, I gave it 4 stars because I do think that it was really well done. And unlike lots of novellas that I have read, it felt complete. I didn't feel like when I got to the end of it, I was like, oh no, I need more of this story, or there was too much info dumping, or, that there were pieces kind of glossed over. I thought that he did a good job of giving us enough characterization and enough plot and enough world building in that really good combination to make a satisfying novella. So I can see why, because I think a lot of people really like this one, right? This is near the top for a lot of Sanderson
It's
fans.
one of my favorites. And one
For
of
me,
Jack's
it's
too, I think.
the only not Stormlight Sanderson thing I like as much as Stormlight.
Right.
Yeah.
Where does this...
page for page, I would say it's my favorite thing he's written. It's just because it's 100 pages versus 1,200 pages of a Stormlight novel. So I think it's very good. And 4 stars is better than I dared hope. So I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, I'm very happy with 4 stars, especially because if 4 stars and last, that means we're doing pretty damn well. So this is actually this is a lot of people for it's do you want to start Sanderson? They go Mistborn. This is what I recommend to people as the entry, just because I think it's so short.
Yeah, that's what I think said too.
It highlights his strengths as well. He's good at all the things he's good at, basically, in the Emperor's Soul. And also, it's just if you don't like the Emperor's Soul, it seems you're fine. And both times I've read it twice. Both times I opened it and then read it in one sitting, and then was like, oh my god.
I think I've read it 4 times, but 3 of them were by audio, which takes an hour. So, also, I just want to say, Emily, this is an objectively wrong opinion. I've never seen someone like Elantris better than Emperor's Soul.
I've seen
power
that,
to
but
you.
I've also told
power
them
to you.
Wrong, so,
but that's wrong. But that's okay. I still appreciate you.
Isaac just burst in and is screaming "Mom!" increasingly more frantically. I'll be right back.
That sounds more important than this.
Sounds good. Yeah.
So now we can talk about how Sarah's wrong and Emperor's Soul is definitely not a 4-star book, right?
It's definitely not a 4-star book, but I'll accept it. I thought she was going to say it was a 2-star or something, but I did choose it for her because I thought that she would like it. I wasn't trying to just force Sanderson down her throat. So I'm glad that I was correct. You were a little bit more skeptical than I was about giving it.
Yeah, I didn't recommend it because I was scared she wouldn't like it.
Well, so the thing is that I remember how people talk about things when they're reading them. This is an Alan thing too. Alan, if you're listening, although he will obviously admit this, which is just that after the fact, people will complain about Sanderson. But I remember when Sarah was reading Mistborn, and I was like, I was there for those reactions. I was there, Gandalf. And she really liked it. So I was like, I had confidence, even if she had quibbles with the execution, that she would hopefully still enjoy it. And I was right.
I did enjoy it.
Kevin,
I was here when she was reading it. I'm just I remember the stars,
Kevin.
But I was like, they didn't. So this is. Do we want to read out me and Kyle's conversation fear for how we pick this?
Yes.
Sure.
So we got Kyle. I am picking Emperor's Soul because I am a true fan, and to be determined on the other. And I said recommending Sanderson to Sarah scares me because what if she thinks it's mid? So, as Kyle said, she gave all of Mistborn Era 2 4 stars and above. I think
I meant to say Era
first
1. Yeah.
Era 1, yeah. I think the first and third got 5 stars. And I said, yeah, but they didn't feel enthusiastic 4 stars. I don't know why. But good. Pick the Emperor's Soul. Probably if the month was all me, I would have picked it as well. And I was like, I think for your second pick, you can pick something longer because Chalian, the Dispossessed, and Emperor Soul are all reasonably short. And then he picked Empire in Black and Gold. So good job, Kyle.
Good job, Kyle. Yeah, it was not 2 stars. I think if I was
so Rogue says, given Sarah's dislike of Sanderson's prose, I was expecting 2 stars. I think for all the flack I give you, you were actually a pretty fair reviewer, and like disliking one thing about an author doesn't necessarily preclude you from not liking something else. Did I freeze? I froze. Am I unfrozen?
You froze,
now?
But we can hear you. So
it's okay. Yeah,
you're still frozen. But I'm just going to be completely honest with you. Everyone is playing this in the background. Like, other than when they're commenting, no one is actually watching this.
We don't need to look at faces.
Yeah. As long as you guys can hear me, that's totally fine. My face is so nicely shaved, though. You know. Yes, Mitch. That's for last.
Definitely. Yep. Assign me a book. Maybe by next April, I'll read it.
All right. What's the next one, Sarah?
I
think Jake and I have the same guess.
You had the same guess? This one was really hard because the next, so there are 5 left, right? So the next few have the same rating, and it was really hard to decide which one to put where. And again, I really liked it. But I think it'll probably be Curse of Chalian is the next one.
Oh, we were so close.
I was wrong, but let me just do some adjusting. My guess was the Dispossessed.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So I have not read this one. So tell us what you liked about Curse of Chalian.
And the star rating that it is.
Really solid. And so I've seen it. When I read it, I assumed it was a standalone, but I also saw that it is part of a series. So is it just like a series that's not necessarily you need to read them all, or is it just like a connected world?
It's just standalones that are in connected worlds, but Paladin of Souls spoils Curse of the Chalian. So it's like you kind of have to read. But Paladins of Souls and Curse of the Chalian are both standalone narratives. Paladin of Souls just happens to follow a character who we see here. I suppose Ista's the protagonist, and chronologically takes place after. So just like, reading it spoils like where people are and what's going on in their life in Curse of the Chalian. So you kind of know like how it's going to end. And then there's the Hallowed Hunt, which I haven't read, that takes place like 300 years earlier. But it's not like a series in that it's not like they narratively follow each other and like you need both to form a complete narrative.
Okay. So I liked pretty much everything about this. It was really solid. I'm going to call it a standalone because that's how I read it. Standalone fantasy. The reason that it got put at the bottom of books with similar ratings is just because I think of the ones that I rated 4.5 stars is probably the one that I will think about the least moving forward. It's just the other ones left me with some things where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna think about this for a long time, or I'm gonna want to go back and read it and reread it and see what happened. Whereas with this one, I was like, that was a really good story. I really liked the characters. I really liked the world. I do think that her writing is lovely, and I want to read more books by her. But I'm also happy to have read it and probably not read it again. Like, I don't think it's one that I'm going to go back and be like, oh yes, I really need to reread that book one day. And maybe I will. Like, I might feel like I want to, but I just thought it was really solid. The world building was great. So again, like in a non-spoilery way, there is an event that happens to the main character, and it's described in such like a weird body horror way that's also really good. I was not expecting this from this fantasy book, but it's so gruesome, but like in a really fascinating way. And you can her writing is so evocative that you can feel what the character is feeling. You're like, oh, I'm so grossed out by this right now, but also I can understand why he feels the way that he feels. And I really appreciated it. And there were just some really good, like I liked the relationship between the male characters and the female characters, even though, and I will say this is a hard thing to pull off, it was a relationship in a fantasy novel. So there is like a romantic subplot that kind of runs through it that involves an older man and a younger woman, which usually I'm like, oh God, that on top of it being a fantasy book, I'm like, this is not going to be something that I will like. But I really did. I thought that it was, again, really well done. The main character is really good. And there are some plotting surprises that I was not expecting, where I was like, oh, this is such a good payoff. I'm so excited to see this play out in this way. And so it was just all around a really good read. It's probably a book that I would have pushed off picking up for a while. And I'm glad that you guys got me to read it.
By you guys, in this case, Me.
You mean Jake.
Yeah, we're doing really well if this is second last. This is take that, Alan.
I'm reading this book next month, so I'm happy that you really liked it. I'm very excited to read it. Do you know the answer to Dia's question, Jake? Where did the
I
Penric
don't.
novel
I haven't
fit
read
in?
Penric. I didn't even know they took place in the same world until Oliver, who's apparently read them, told me the other day.
Yeah,
as far as I know, they are almost completely not connected other than having to take place on the same planet. But I don't actually know that for sure because I haven't read them. Also, I want to say, I'd heard a lot about Bujold's character work. I was so, like, the setup and payoff is so good in Curse of the Chalion, where it's like, she's so good at just having, like, these tiny details that you think nothing of.
Yep.
Like, I don't think there is a Bujold book where someone in Vorkoskin, so there's like cars because it's sci-fi or like versions of that. Someone randomly at some point like walks home instead of drives home just because like it's nice out. They just feel like walking home. They're like, it's actually pretty short. And this ends up being plot relevant. And I'm like, how do you do this? Like, what's going on?
How do you make these things happen? And it is very impressive. And the writing is really nice. And it also reminded me, not in terms of content, but like speaking of Alan's TBR last year, when I read what's the name of the book?
I don't know. I don't know which book you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, the KJ Parker book. Now
Folding
he's going to thank you. He's going to be even angrier now if he watches this. But in The Folding Knife, it's a book where you follow a person and you have to be invested in that person to enjoy the book. And if you are, you're going to really like it. And it reminded me a little bit of that because in terms of fantasy, there definitely is plotting that is happening, but it's done so well that it feels really natural. Like it feels like you're just living through this main character's life. And it doesn't feel like you are reading a book. It feels like you are experiencing his experiences. And I think you have to be a really talented author to make someone feel that way when they're reading. And if you're invested in the character, then even though it's not like the most breakneck pacing or, if it's not like some of the modern epic fantasy that we're used to reading, I think that people would have a really good time with it. So like I said, I'm really glad that I read it. It was good.
Awesome.
All right. Are we ready to go on?
What do we got next?
You can take from your stack now, Jake, because it is the Dispossessed. The Dispossessed is next.
You know what? I'm loving how close we were because we talked about the Dispossessed and Curse of Chalion being like really hard to guess. So the fact that you gave them the same rating, the fact that you gave them the same rating means that we're basically right.
You are basically right. And it was even when I was ranking them, I was like, I don't know which ones I'm going to put in which order. And then I thought, with the Dispossessed, I think I still am like thinking about parts of it. I'm like, man, that was such a good book. It was so well done. And Ursula K. Le Guin is so smart. And you can, as soon as you start reading one of her books, you're like, man, she was so smart. And they're so relevant even now. And I think that's probably why I put Chalion a little bit lower. Because I thought it was a solid fantasy novel, but there wasn't a ton that was different from other really solid fantasy novels that I enjoy, which means that I really liked reading it. But when I read The Dispossessed, I was like, this is so good. I really it is one that I will go back and reread. And again, I put off reading it for a really long time. I had to message Nemos actually and tell him, I was like, I'm so behind on this TBR, but just know that I really love The Dispossessed so that you don't have to wait in suspense.
But you left us waiting in suspense, but
just know
remind me, have you read the Lathe of Heaven?
Yes. Yep, I read it.
Yeah.
That's
what I thought. And you really liked that one?
I did like it. I like The Dispossessed more, I think, even though The Lathe of Heaven has a psychiatrist in it. But I think I like The Dispossessed a little bit more.
I've read maybe 7 Ursula K. Le Guin books at this point, and The Lathe of Heaven is the only one I really, really like. I haven't read The Dispossessed yet. That's the one I'm going to read next. But the rest of them have been like fine to good, but like The Lathe of Heaven was the one where I was like, oh, I see why people really like her.
I haven't read Lathe of Heaven, but Dispossessed is my favorite. I've read all of Earthsea, Left Hand of Darkness, and The Dispossessed. And The Dispossessed is pretty comfortable. I like all of them, but
I have not read The Word per World is Forest yet, Rogue. I do want to read it. I respect the hell out of Ursula K. Le Guin. I also really like her nonfiction. Jake and I both agree that her forward to The Left Hand of Darkness is better than most people's actual books.
Yeah, it's good.
It's really, really good.
It's so good. I am keeping this stupid tall paperback that I didn't even read because you barely see the words on the inside. Because I'm literally keeping it for the forward. that's why I'm keeping that book.
Yeah,
That's
it's like the best forward I've ever read. It was very, very good. Like I was listening to it on audio, and I was like, "Is this like just a banger forward?" And I had to go and look at the physical version to like reread it. It was really good.
It's it and the Paper Menagerie.
There was I just got a nonfiction book by her. Actually, it was a Kindle sale. Which one was it? Let's see. What's the title?
Ken Liu is releasing a new collection of her essays with a new foreword, speaking of the Paper Menagerie. So that's coming out next month, and I'm definitely going to be buying it. I have a feeling that I'm going to vibe with her nonfiction more than her fiction, but maybe The Dispossessed will just totally change me on this.
That's fair. I think the one that I bought is called Dancing at the Edge of the World.
Oh, yes, I've heard of that one. Nice.
So I will read that sometime soon. But
also, like, I see people describe The Dispossessed as this kind of like zoomed out, like thought-provoking, but not like emotionally compelling novel. And I'm just like, what? Like,
I was compelled. I thought it achieved both things. Like, it's definitely a topic book. Like there are themes that she wanted to explore.
That once it says something, TM, as Alan would say.
Right, that's what I was trying to remember his review. I was like, what did Alan call it?
Hippie commune stuff, you know?
But it is a thematically dense book. She certainly had a purpose in mind when she wrote it. But I agree. I thought that it was emotionally compelling, and I thought the dual timeline helped with that because it kind of kept you wondering what was going to happen at different parts of what was the man's name, the main character?
Shrek.
There we go. Shrek's life. So I was emotionally, I found it compelling, and I thought that the way, again, it's really hard when you're trying not to be spoilery. So the things that were happening to him and the way that he was struggling with his own society and the other society in relation to his loved ones and the people that he cared about, I thought that it was really emotional. I felt for him many times. Like there were parts of the book where I was like, this is so hard. Like the things that are happening are heartbreaking.
Yeah. I've described it kind of, people give this for the Terry Pratchett book, like Small Gods, that you could recommend it to someone. It obviously covers the topic of organized religion, but you could like give it to someone no matter what their opinion is. And because it just treats the topic so well, I feel kind of that way about The Dispossessed.
Yes.
Where it just treats everything like so in such a nuanced fashion and so honestly. I love this book.
Yes, there are critiques on both sides. So neither society is portrayed as
it's literally, that's why the alternate title, this just says The Dispossessed, but it's The Dispossessed, an ambiguous utopia. So
I don't think mine said that on the front.
I didn't know that.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it is very nuanced, very well done. And like you said, it's a book where you can hopefully give it to people who have various opinions and have them take, things out of it and not feel that it is just an attack or a treatise that is, propping up someone's idea. Like sometimes you read books that are where that the author is political, and I'm sure that Ursula K. Le Guin was, she had lots of thoughts about the world and our place in it. But some books you read and you are like, I know everything that this person thinks about the world and other people and their entire belief system. And then sometimes you can read books by people and you just think, wow, this person has such an interesting way of looking at the world. And Ursula K. Le Guin is more of that feeling. It's less of, she had an agenda to push at someone, and more of there were things that she wanted to explore about the injustices of the world, and this was the vehicle that she chose.
I also am not sure which of these I like more, by the way. But yeah, you're right, totally, because Curse of the Chalian is not a book that says something like, and I think Bujol generally is much more like a plot character. You can see like she's Jim Butcher's favorite working, like living author, I think.
Nice.
Like, I think you can kind of see the stylistic. You can tell Jim wants to write stories like Bujol does. Like, he's not trying to be someone who says something TM. He's like, we're going to try and make it like it's about just this person's life happening and a tight combination of plot and character. Le Guin is not like, Le Guin is definitely, I think, with all her sci-fi books.
Yes, I think she had something to say. And she said it well.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, Le Guin's one of the... You know how sometimes like you'll read a book and it's really good, and someone out there is just like, this is actually bad. Le Guin is one of the authors who I can just like most eye roll when people are like, if people's like, Le Guin's actually bad, I'm like, okay, sure, dude.
even me though, like I have not really gotten along with her books that much, but it's not. I'm just like, oh, I wish I cared. Like I think her writing is really good. I can tell she's very, very smart and intelligent, has lots of things to say. But I'm just like, man. Earthsea in particular, I just don't care about anything happening. It's like in a video game where like when you get to the next screen, everything falls away. That's how I feel about reading Earthsea. Like as soon as I get to the scene, all the scenes before just fall away.
You're not going. But I don't think Le Guin's a hack though. Like yeah. If someone's like Le Guin's a hack, I'm just like yeah, whatever, man. Like you do you.
It's also when, especially for Earthsea, reading it now, having all of the fantasy that was influenced by Earthsea is a very different experience, I'm sure, than reading it when it was written and all of the things that it did first.
Also, the timing for me reading with Earthsea was really funny because I just read Empire of Silence that a bunch of Kingkiller fans are like, Empire of Silence just copied Name of the Wind. And then I read Wizard of Earthsea and I'm like, yeah, Name of the Wind just copied Wizard of Earthsea. So take that. It didn't.
Which is funny because Patrick Rothfuss will be very open about the fact that he was a fan. So,
by the way, neither copied the other. That's the most overblown criticism ever. When it's like, this is just a copy of this other book. And I'm like, is it though? Are you sure you're not just picking like 3 plot points that are kind of similar out of like 100? Maybe like
Empire of Silence is just copying Gladiator, bro.
True. Anyway, Dispossessed. I think we're doing well. What's next? There's only one wrong answer of the next.
There is only one wrong answer of the next 3.
Which will probably be the answer. It's probably the wrong answer for you guys. So the other 4.5 star is Sailing to Sarantium.
Oh, that's the last.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we were not sure how you would order the next.
No.
The wrong answer was all right. Sailing to Sarantium. I had hit above Empire. I haven't read Empire Black and Gold. Sailing to Sarantium.
I said, to be fair, I was like, I don't know. I was like, it depends on if she's, because people think about the Sarantine mosaic in 2 different ways. I find some people like Jake think of it as one full story, and
I've
like
moved.
Clearly, it's like Sailing to Sarantium. And
I moved on my reread. On reread, I think of them more distinctively.
I feel more like Sailing to Sarantium is a book that has an abnormal ending, but still is one complete story. And then Lord of Emperors is a sequel to that story. And I think looking at it that way, I feel like Sailing to Sarantium is a little bit weaker. So that's why I thought you might have it a little bit earlier. So
I will say, if I was giving the Sarantine Mosaic a rating, it would not be 4.5 stars.
Very good, very good. All right, we can tell Evie that she hasn't.
She is not disappointing us at all. She is a very good friend.
Which also means we didn't disappoint her because we gave her good history.
Yes.
All right, Sarah, tell us about Sailing to Sarantium.
It's so good. It's Guy Gabriel Kay is so good. He's so talented. I'm gonna save some more things about him for the next book that we talk about, but he's excellent. Sailing to Sarantium is great. The -0.5 star is that I do agree it is its own book. It has an ending that would be unexpected for a singular novel, but there are things in Sailing to Sarantium that become so much better when you read Lord of Emperors. Yeah. So there are some things that are left hanging in the first book where you don't realize how they're going to pay off. And so you don't really pay them that much attention, or you're not as impressed by them. So that's where the 4.5 stars came from. And I find this has been the same for every Guy Gabriel Kay book that I've read so far, which has only been a few, but the first chapters I feel like are always very impressive and very ambitious, but I don't ever get to feel properly impressed by them until I'm finished the book. So in the beginning, when I'm reading through this giant first chapter, because they're always like 1,000,000 pages long.
These are the longest chapters.
What is happening?
For sure.
Like I'm getting so many details, but all these people and all this stuff, and like I'm tired. It's 11 o'clock. Like, why is this chapter 85 pages? So the 4.5 stars just came from a couple of those thoughts. But it's an excellent book. Guy Gabriel Kay's characters are so good, and I think of the books that I have read by him so far, the main character of this book, Crispin, is my favorite of the main characters so far because he's.
Which ones have you read? Tigana, Under Heaven, and this?
And this, yeah.
Yes, I would agree for sure. I mean, I think Crispin would beat any. Nah, I actually really like the protagonist of Brightness Long Ago.
It also, to me, it depends whether you can consider Dianora the protagonist of Tigana. that's also that. But I still think I might take Crispin. The real reason to take half a star of Sailing to Serantium is he didn't include a character list when he did in other books. Why?
I didn't even notice this.
That's the funny thing.
No, it bothers Jake so much.
So the funny thing is, it doesn't actually bother me while reading because the character work's so good. I don't forget who people are.
Yes.
It wouldn't bother me if he didn't include it in any of them. But the fact that he includes them in books with way less characters and then gets to Serentine and is just like, the funny thing is, the bastard, I'm even more mad because he's right. Like, I don't need the character list. And I'm angry that he has such insight.
How dare you know
that is true.
Blaze is also great, but Sarah hasn't read Arbonne. Neither has Kyle. They're missing out, but that's okay.
I do have it though. That's no, that is not one of the ones that I own.
I'm starting Song for Arbonne probably at the end of the month. It's definitely being read by June.
Hey, and Brightness Long Ago, I think.
Brightness
but yeah, no, this was excellent. The writing was lovely. The character work was great. I feel like I'm going to save most of my thoughts for when we talk about the second book. So I'll just say Sailing to Serantium is great.
Well, we have to talk about one thing about that book, which we can talk about vaguely enough without spoiling people. The bison scene, top tier, phenomenal. The chariot scene, you would think is top tier, phenomenal, but then you get an even better one later. But yeah, those two scenes I feel like really make the book for me beyond everything else. What do you think?
I'll let Sarah answer.
No, absolutely. And I feel like there's always a scene like that in his books. In the why are all of the words coming out of my head? The Chinese history one. Under Heaven. There we go. It says it in the book like 8,000 times. So I know. And it only says Under Heaven like 18,000 times in the book. But in Under Heaven, there's a scene, well, you guys know because you've read it, but it's the scene that happens where you're like, I can't believe this is happening. And those really powerful scenes, he does such a good job with them. His writing is so immersive. It just pulls you in. And so when really horrifying or impactful things are happening, it's like heart pounding. Oh, Mindalin's at that scene right now.
That's exciting.
Why are you watching this? Go read that.
I didn't know you were reading this right now. Hey, Ben. Nice to see you. Thanks for showing up.
Ben showed up as soon as Sarah said the writing's immersive. Did you catch that?
He just has a Google alert for the word immersive.
He has a mental alert. He gets a ping in his head, like an exclamation mark came up above his computer, and he's like, I gotta start watching.
Ben can leave forever.
Ben is the other person who likes Elantris more than Emperor's Soul. I knew there was someone. Yeah. Ben I'll give way more crap.
I suppressed that. Well, I'll give Ben more crap for that because he likes Dragon Keeper more than like Fool's Errand.
Yeah, whatever.
That's insane.
Another thing we talk about that's Sailing to Serantium only is the prologue of Sailing to Serantium, which pranked me the first time I read it. Because all his other prologues, this is the last prologue he ever wrote, by the way. No more prologues. All his previous prologues are like really short. They're like a few pages. This one's like, so I started reading it at like midnight, and I'm like, oh, I'll just read the prologue and then go to sleep. It's like 50 pages.
It's so long.
It's so long.
And it really throws you in there,
like 3 pages.
Happening.
Yeah. I love that prologue. Because it's just like starting like this isn't a spoiler, this is page 1. Starting with the Emperor dying, classic way to start a fantasy novel, tried and true. This is how you do it, cough Brian Stavely. Anyway, and then it just like it POV hops seemingly so randomly, but then by the end of the chapter, I feel like I know what happened. Like it doesn't go anyway. Sailing to Serantium. Very happy to see it here. Even if I had it, now we're getting to the book that I haven't read, so you can. I hope so.
Well, we hope so. But before we move on, I have one more anecdote. Jake knows this, but now Sarah will have context. Last summer, I went and met Guy Gabriel Kay in Winnipeg, and on the way there, I was finishing Lord of Emperors on audio, and I was literally like crying as I was reading it. And I got to the signing, and I wanted to I was like, man, I just finished Lord of Emperors. It's like one of my favorite books of all time now. The chariot scene in that book was so good. And Guy Gabriel Kay was like, oh, I am really happy to hear that because I set up in Sailing to Serantium how good how important the chariot scenes were. So I needed to make the chariot scene in Lord of Emperors even better, but I shot myself in the foot because I thought the chariot scene in Sailing to Serantium was pretty damn good already. So I started Lord of Emperors, and I was like, why did I do this to myself? I thought that was pretty funny.
No, definitely. Well, okay, so I don't know if Ben's joking or not joking. I want to laugh because it feels like a joke, but if you're not joking, I'm sorry, Ben, for the spoiler.
This is page 1, Ben. Okay,
Literally, like the first line.
Yeah, this is like line 3. Okay,
yeah. It's literally like pre-premise.
Like if I just start reading this first page as an audiobook narrator, it would not take that long before we get to that part. Okay, there's acknowledgements, whatever.
So
okay,
you guys will be happy because I gave 2 books 5 stars, and the second favorite of the 2 of them was Empire and Black and Gold.
Okay.
Yes.
So
this was like a total shocker. I was not expecting to love this book.
I knew you would like this book. I was actually very confident that you would like this book. If it wasn't for Lord of Emperors, which like is objectively the best book we chose, this was the most confident I was about any of the books. So I'm glad you liked it.
About me. Like I think I knew that Alan was doing the read along, but I didn't join it back when he did it because it was like a 10-book series or something. I was like, I've got so many things. I can't start a series that long. And for some reason I think he started around the same time that he was talking about his Flintlock fantasy, which this definitely fits that genre. But I was imagining it as like something entirely different from what it is, like something like the Aeronauts Windlass or something, like where people are in like balloons and there are balloons and stuff. But
have you read Aeronauts Windlass? Did that
happen? But it has a balloon on the front, doesn't it?
It doesn't really have it has airships that like fly with.
Listen, the cover of that book is a lie. Don't believe anything of the cover of that book.
The protagonist also wears a hat, by the way.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, I was thinking of another Flintlock that I definitely have read. I had no idea this was about bugs. I love bugs. If I knew that it was about bugs, I would have been way more likely.
That's the thing. Everybody knows about it. It's bug people.
That's all I know. I haven't read this, and that's like all I know about it. Is I know the antagonists are wasps, and I already hate them because I hate wasps.
I do hate wasps too.
Yes, this is actually a proto Mike suggestion because Mike made me read this book, and he was right.
This seems like the kind of book you would make Mike read, not the kind of book that Mike would make you read.
Well, so the thing is that he wanted me to read it so that we could start buddy reading it. But then I waited like 6 months to actually read it. And then he was like on his Will White is Life binge. And so he hasn't wanted to read the next one. So sucks to suck, Mike.
Also, I don't know if there's any Doctor Who fans here, but wasps are basically Daleks, just without the laser guns. That is all.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sorry, Mike. I've never talked about this before, but
Adrian Tchaikovsky would really disagree with you, Mike.
Definitely. I was definitely an Adrian Tchaikovsky kid too. Like I was one of the bug collecting kids. Like I had containers of them. My mom was horrified by it. Like they would just be everywhere. So I was definitely a weird bug kid.
Oh yeah, you need to read more. I've only read like one Tchaikovsky book and heard of this, and I'm like, wow, this dude really likes bugs.
Yeah, he does like bugs.
Yeah. Like all I know is I've read Children of Time, which is bugs. Yeah.
The beginning of this book is incredible. Like a very good. I can't remember if it's a prologue or a chapter 1, but it's just killer out of the gate.
Yeah, I did not know about it, and I don't remember if it was a prologue or not. I did this one by audio, so I started this one right at the beginning as well. So I was reading Emperor's Soul and listening to this right at the beginning. I remember I went for a walk and I was listening to the first chapter, and I just kept walking and walking and walking. I was like, this is so good. How can I stop? It was excellent, and I think so this is where I'm torn. Is like a lot of people, I hear like a lot of early buzz about the series, but then it seems like people stop reading it, and it makes me sad and makes me feel like maybe the books get less good as... I
haven't seen that as a general thought. I think it's 2 things. 1, 10-book series are a long commitment for anybody. And 2, it's separated into multiple arcs. So I think people find a stopping point, and then like Alan read the first arc, and then he was going to continue on, and then you just get sidetracked by things. Because the first 4 he wrote all together before he was published, which, fun fact, I just learned recently, Adrian Tchaikovsky gave himself to his 35th birthday. He was like, if I am not published by the time I'm 35, I'm just going to kind of stop trying to get published. And he got signed for Empire Black and Gold 2 weeks before his 35th birthday, which is crazy to think we would have missed all of these books if he didn't get that. But he'd already written 4. Yep. So then that was one whole arc. He's like, look, if you buy this fantasy series, you have 4 books that are already telling an arc. And then after they were like coming out, he wrote more. So I think, I could be wrong because I haven't read them, but I think it's the first 4 and then the next 2 and then the final 4, something like that. But I think that's why a lot of people don't finish the series, is because of that like episodic nature. But I could be wrong. I haven't seen people dislike it.
I can't imagine him not being a fantasy author. Like, one look at his author's picture, and I'm like, this is a man who was born to write a fantasy book. Like, he looks like someone did a face smash between like Stephen King and Patrick Rothfuss, and they just made
absolutely,
this
for
man.
sure.
Also, Ben heard accidental back half of Shadow to the App slander and is now going to be on the warpath. So
that's fair. No, well, that makes me excited. I feel confident enough to order the book, so I will probably order the first 4 then, if that's the first arc. I'm really excited to continue on. And I liked that it was bugs and unexpectedly, which, like you said, Jake, it's Adrian Tchaikovsky, so I guess I should have known.
Literally all I like. Look at the cover. It's literally just a wasp.
Right? I know. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess maybe like I thought of it in the same way. You remember the Silence of the Lambs cover, like the first movie cover, where it was like someone with a bug on her mouth? I don't know. It's not always bugs.
As a huge rabbit fan, the amount of things where I'm like, oh, this book is going to be about rabbits, and then it's just not, because people just use rabbit imagery for all sorts of non-rabbit related things.
People love to use the traumatizing rabbit imagery now.
Yeah, just assuming that it is not related to bugs, I can understand.
Kyle, have you ever heard? Sorry, we're going to take one pause from talking about these books for 1 second. Have you heard the story about when the BBC played Watership Down, the movie, for Easter Sunday, and a bunch of parents like turned it on for their kids, and they got traumatized?
I still haven't seen that adaptation. I've just seen the more recent one, but I do want to watch it. The show's also good. Yeah. Do you want to pitch this book for Jake and the audience who have not read it?
Yes, so this is a first book in fantasy series that is in fact Flintlock, but also bugs. And the reasons why you should read it is because the characterization is great. It is the pacing is excellent. Like, the first chapter is amazing, and you only want to keep knowing what happens from there. The bug species people have such cool powers, and the action scenes are so good. I have read Adrian Tchaikovsky books before where the first chapter has been explosive and then I've been kind of let down by the rest of the book. But in this one, it was solid all the way through. It was so exciting. There were twists and turns and things were happening. And it was amazing. It is my biggest shock from this entire TBR, how much I love this book. But I'm glad that you thought that I would like it, Kyle.
Yeah, I don't think I would have been able to quantify it that well. I've known your taste for a while, and I knew you already liked Tchaikovsky, and I was like, this just feels like a book that you would really like. So I'm glad that it did land. I just feel like
they're human. They are human, Mike. That is true, but they have bug powers.
Yeah, so they're like people with like an extra bug. It's like they superset, or what is it called in Dragon Ball Z when they fusion? I guess it's like when they fuse with a bug and they each have like a bug power. Like, I don't know, like
they have to do a fusion dance, put on an earring.
And so wasps gain the power of me hating them.
You don't like bugs at all?
I don't like wasps. I'm fine with some other one.
Nobody likes wasps. Wasps are the villains. So the wasp empire is very much like, I don't know if it's actually inspired by Roman. It might be Greek. I can't remember. But it feels very much like the Roman Empire spreading out and conquering city-states and like.
And do they just hate everything that isn't themselves and sting people for no reason?
Yes.
Yes.
That's wasps. See, this is because I have no problem with bees. Bees, if you get
bees are good.
Chill. They're chill. They're also they serve a purpose, but also like realistically, when you get stung by a bee, like you were probably being a dick. Like, just leave the bees alone. But like bees just want to be left alone, and then they're like, no, I don't want to stay. Just like I have to do that. And then wasps are just like going around like, I hate you, 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 I hate you.
Coming for you.
I will say, just like in terms of like, I don't like bugs much, and like I don't know a lot about individual types of bugs beyond like just what you generally know about bugs. I do like how like he put a lot of thought into what a type of Kinden's personality or like worldview would be based on the type of bug that they are. Like, I don't remember a lot of them very specifically now because I read it like 7 or 8 months ago. But every single time he was like, oh, like the beetles are really like technology based, industrial. I'm like, like that totally makes sense. Like every single time, it's not like one was a leap. It was like dragonflies are just like kind of like mothy, wizardy people, and I'm like, the ants are
really
well.
family focused. The ants are kind of in like this big colony. They all have each other's back. They work as a team. The praying mantises are very aloof and individualistic. And it's the spiders are sneaky. And yeah, so it is really cool.
Can you remind me what it is that the spiders can't do? I know it's part of the thing with Tenisa. It's like they can't lie, or they're not. I can't remember what it is.
The spiders, they can't do technology. Like she can't even fire a gun. She doesn't even know how to do it. How to pull the trigger. Because they're so instinct based. She just like everything is instinctual. She is just kind of like driven by that spider instinct.
They not apt. Mike broke it down.
They not apt. Yeah, exactly. There's no cicadas in the first book.
Yeah, I don't think there's any cicadas in the first book. I don't know. I know each book introduces more Kindens, so maybe later, but
not so far.
The audiobook narrator is fantastic.
So good.
Really, really good.
An excellent narrator, which also improved the experience. I'm sure like that was a boost. If the narrator was poor, then I might not have liked it as much, but
for sure.
Yeah, it was great. Tchaikovsky is excellent. I would like to say that I'm going to read all of his books, but he writes them too fast for me to ever read them all. So. Do we get to talk about the number one book now?
Is it time to uncrown everyone?
It is.
Does the Lord of Emperors
awaits?
Mm-hmm. So This is obviously 5 stars. If I had to combine them into one book, it would be 5 stars. I think Lord of Emperors is one of the best fantasy books that I have ever read. And I also think it's one of the best fantasy books ever written.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go. This is correct.
What I'm talking about.
It's not disappointing us at all.
Right. It's so good. I
cannot be hyped until you said that. I was like, all right, she knows.
So hyped. I don't even know where to start. The plotting is so good. So good. There are so many details from Sailing to Strontium that come up in the second book. The characterization is perfect. It is people do all of the things that you expect them to do, given how he has built them up and the people that he has made them out to be. Terrible things happen in ways that are very realistic and heartbreaking, and just like the emotion kind of like sneaks up on you. And I will say that I got emotional at several times during this book. And this is not an end spoiler, because I know when Alan always says, like, when people say they cried at the end of the book, it means someone died.
No. I cried for several different reasons for the end of this book. It is just extremely well written.
Right? The last chapter is so emotional. Like, there is a scene in the last chapter where I don't want to spoil anything at all, but
I want to say here, I think I know what you're talking about. I'm going to try and phrase it in a way. I cried over the ideological loss of an object.
Yes.
Yeah. I had full face tears over a thing that was metaphorical in nature.
Yes. And someone opens a box at the end of the book, and then I just started sobbing. Oh my gosh. What is happening? It was so like, I cannot overstate.
Shut up.
I cried. I didn't just cry over the loss. I also cried over the preservation of an object.
Yes.
And there was a chariot race that reading it was a spiritual experience.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, so I had heard Jake talking about how good that chariot race was for 2 years at that point. And I was like, there's just no way. And it's like a transcendent reading experience where I was reading it and I would like get to the next line and it would recontextualize the last 3 or 4 lines. So I'd have to go back and reread. And then I would get down to half. I'm like, no, all this stuff means. I was like, oh, one of the best written action scenes of anything I've ever read.
Right. And it has something for like all the things that you like in fantasy. Political intrigue, top tier. Like the things that these people are planning and saying to each other and doing are so well done. Characterization, amazing. The world building, fantastic. All of the setting and world building, so good. GGK always has like the food and the art and the stories and the landscape, and all of those things mean different things to different people. And it's just like, the moment there's a scene in Lord of Emperors that will not be spoilery for anyone who hasn't read it, where they go on a boat ride. And so everything that follows that part, like as soon as it happens, I'm like, oh, shit's going down. Like this is everything is happening now. And it is so good.
That was almost the exact part where I was driving and I just like finished the book on audio. Can you imagine driving during all that stuff?
I cannot.
Like,
I cannot
I kept,
imagine
like,
having to
I
cut
kept like, I had to like focus on driving, so I'd have to like go back and reverse a little bit. I was like, oh man, I gotta reread this book. It's so good. Gwyneth Paltrow's head was in the box. Sorry.
What I will say, Mitch, is it's not something that should make you cry. Like, you wouldn't think that it's something that's going to bring out all the emotions, but it does.
Also, I love how he does the thing. He's like, chapter 1, new character, and then by the end of chapter, I'm like, I love this dude. Like,
right? It takes one
chapter 1's so good.
Literally.
Yeah.
By the end of the chapter, you're like, because you start and I'm like, oh man, where's Crispin? And then you get through the first chapter, you're like, I would die for this person.
On my reread, my only commentary for my reread of Lord is every time I finish a chapter, I just be like, chapter 1 of Lord of Emperors was incredible. Chapter 2 of, and then eventually I started having to get more creative because that wasn't sufficient. So I was like, chapter 10, which is the chariot. I was like, chapter 10 is beyond mortal words. Like,
there's nothing to describe.
Yeah, no one believes you. You're like, the chariot race is, and they're like, gods, it's a chariot race.
Right.
Calm down. And I'm like, you don't understand.
We can't calm down. It's so good. Calm down. Speaking of the chariot race and also Lord of Emperors, I feel like us getting a adaptation of this series is not going to happen as much as I would love it for it to happen. But for Jake and Sarah and anybody who wants to experience some similar goodness, there's a TV show coming out next month or maybe June. Starring Anthony Hopkins as a Roman emperor, and the second lead character is some Italian actor playing a guy named Scorpius, and he is a famous Roman chariot racer. It's like the most famous Roman chariot racer. It's clearly the inspiration for a character in Sarantine Mosaic. And I didn't know that he was based on a real character. Like I should have, because it's got Gabrielle Kay, but until I read the cast list, I'm like, that is a very similar name. And then I looked at it was
son of Jad. That's who he is.
Yeah, it was a chariot racer, and I was like, he's the most famous chariot racer. I was like, oh man, this is the guy.
It's actually like a combination of their two names. Like if you blend the two of them together.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, I just want to say that Helodico's son of Jad. Also, this book's funny too.
It is funny.
It's so funny.
It has everything.
It's honestly too good. It's like it's impressive. When I finished it, I was like, this is probably my favorite book of the year. Mm-hmm. And then like a week went by, and I was like, it is definitely my favorite book of the year. And now I'm like, it might be like top 5, definitely top 10 favorite books I've ever read. I love it so much.
It just keeps getting better too. Like
it's amazing. Yes, it does keep getting better. The further you go, I don't know. And Guy Gabriel Kay, everything he does, it just comes off so well. And he does things that if other people did them, you'd be like, this sucks. But because he's doing them, it doesn't suck. So he will use that, and I like it when Stephen King does this too, but lots of people don't. Like he will do this whole thing where he tells you the future of someone. Or he'll be like, and that was the last time, or this was the time that led to. But it's so impactful and so profound. You're like, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I really like the theme in this. He does it in other books too, but I feel it's most prevalent in this of like how everybody's lives are just like not really caring about the political sphere of the time, and that like everybody's great personal tragedies are just as important to them as the fall and rise of an empire. Absolutely. And he the way he writes about that throughout the 2 books is just magnificent. Like so many good quotes,
especially this. Yeah,
I knew you were gonna. I was queuing you up for the quote I know you want to read.
Yeah, because it's like it's in the chariot race, but it might literally be my favorite page in fiction, where it hits you with the great events of an age appear to those living through them as a backdrop only to the vastly more compelling dramas of their own lives. And how could it be otherwise? And then it goes longer, and it's so good.
That whole part is really good.
This is also true. I'm assuming, and this is not, I wouldn't call this like super spoiler. No. I'm assuming this is the person who goes off into the caves.
I know who you're talking about.
It happens multiple times.
There's multiple times. Yeah, I don't know if that's for sure who he's talking about, but I know who you are talking about, and I like that part.
Because that was the one where he gave you the story from okay, and he left court, and then all of these things happened, and this is how he died. Oh my gosh, my kids are having a fight.
I think that's like a thing that's picked up on Lions of Alverson. Is that the case? I read Lions first, so I didn't know, but I thought I heard somebody talk about that later. Or is that just the guy who founds religion that's in Lions of Alverson?
It might be the guy who founds Ashar, like the guy with the stars.
Yeah.
Because timing wise, there's the kind of somewhat analogous in terms of like geographically which people worship them compared to there's like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and this is around the time Islam was founded, like around this era. So I think that was might have been in world. Like I think he was doing prophet things.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice.
Also, by the way, in this same way, many of the men and women there in the hippodrome, and some who were not, but later claimed to have been, would cling to one private image or another of what transpired. They might be entirely different things, varying moments, for each of us has strings within the soul, and we are played upon in different ways, like instruments. And how could it be otherwise? It goes so hard. Anyway.
It does.
And how could it be otherwise is such an epic phrase that I like. If you told me outside of reading these books, I'd be like, you're being pretentious, guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just like, no, it just slaps every single time. Like, so good. I'm
So
so
is
glad
this-
this was a hit for you.
Yeah, it was so very much a hit. Is this your favorite GGK book, Jake?
Yes, this might be my favorite.
It should be everybody's favorite.
This book, like as I sit on it, this book is the coin flip with Assassin's Fate for just my favorite book.
Favorite book, yeah.
Like
I didn't know that. That's
on some days. On some days, Lord of Emperors is my favorite book. Probably on more days, Assassin's Fate is my favorite book.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the only other book that on some days it's my favorite book. Just generally. Should.
It's so good.
It was
and
somehow
it
even better
sadness
on reread. It doesn't even make sense. It was already so good.
And it's, I can see that it would be even better. But the thing that I like about it is that there's a lot of good emotional payoff, but there's a lot of sad emotional payoff too, which I feel like is necessary for a really important book. If it doesn't make me sad, then it's probably not going to be a favorite.
Yeah, I mean,
you like sad girl literature?
He does. He's known to do the sad.
Sad girl GGK.
Like it's that I always describe the Sarantine Mosaic as like it is following both the grand scale events of like the conflict of nations and the founding of religions, and also like just the super zoomed in people living their lives, whether they're just like chariot race chefs. I love the chef characters. The chef characters are so good. Doctors, like, and it makes both of these things feel equally important. Like it's not like this is the side story. It's like, no, this just story of these people's lives is just as important, as collectively more important than like these grand events. But the grand events are still grand events that will shape the world for like centuries to come.
I also liked the little plug about history and how it really is the people who write the history books that dictate what goes in there and how we feel about people in the past and what we believe about them and how they're described. And it's just, there's so many details, so many little details that make up this book and that makes it, fantastic.
Also, it's like objectively horrific. Like if I was to just tell you, like, here's a thing that happens in this book, you would think I was describing like a horror novel.
Yes. And it does have the things that like people don't like about GGK too. Like it has weird sexual stuff and it has like all of that stuff is there. It's just.
I feel like he fades to black more than in some of the other, like it's for sure there, but I think it's at its most toned down, except in maybe a couple other novels.
Also, this book compared to Sailing to Sarantium continues the trend of, on average, the hornier GGK books being the better GGK books. I don't know, something like he gets me horny and then he just writes the rest better. It's just how it works.
Yep.
Then he just, he writes the horniest chapter, and then he writes like the best ending to a chapter. So, they're always.
Wait, are you saying his horniest books are his best books, or that
on average? Yeah, like the correlation is.
That's not true. Tigana is his worst book.
Well, one, no, it's not.
I like Tigana.
I do too. I just like everything else better, besides the Finnevar tapestry.
They put the Finnevar in this book, don't they? Like they mention it as a.
It has slight nods. So Fionavar is kind of like a portal fantasy. So technically, it's like the multiverse thing going on, and it has random nods throughout a bunch of his books.
Sorry, Jake, I cut you off.
There's also, so this isn't a spoiler. This is just like a completely minor detail. There's an opening monologue. Also, I love how a bunch of the chapters just like start with a monologue, and then like the contents of the chapters are just connected thematically. And there's one like about dreams, and it mentioned that some people like say that in dreams you can see like the other realities, and in Under Heaven, the poet dreams of a world with 2 moons.
Yes.
Oh, Sly.
And that's the
Did
only
you catch
connection
that
between
the first time, or did you catch that on a reread?
So I caught that the first time, but I cheated. I caught that for a very specific reason. And I caught that for a specific reason because I had that monologue as one of the narration bits I did. And I always remember those bits better because I specifically narrated them and then listened through a bunch in editing. So that's why I caught it the first time I read Under Heaven.
I don't think that's cheating. That's just like for whatever reason, a quote that ended up sticking out.
Yeah.
Right?
But no, I didn't need to read it to catch that. And that's, as far as I can tell, the only connection between those novels. So
nice.
Other than like the same dude wrote.
So what Guy Gabriel Kay book do you think you're going to read next, Sarah?
I probably whatever comes after Under Heaven. I would like to finish that duology.
River of Stars.
River of Stars, yeah.
I don't have that one, but I'll get it from the library, I guess, and finish that. And then after that, the 2 that I have are Brightness Long Ago and Lions. So it'll be one of.
Oh, those are both excellent.
Yeah,
excellent.
That's my second and third favorite GGK book.
Well, there we go. I'm set up to do well.
You are.
Is Brightness your second?
Yeah. Lord of Emperors.
It's really close. I think Brightness being shorter and more experimental makes me like it slightly more than Lions, but they're both very, very good novels.
I think the last chapter of Lions is my favorite bit for any of those, but I think I just like the middle of Brightness more than the middle of Lions.
Right.
I agree with both of those sentiments. Also, like Brightness made me cry more, which is not non-significant. So
it's always a good sign.
I think they both made me cry similarly.
Well, Sarah, I'm glad this was such a success.
Right? It's worth it that it took so long because
it's always worth it just to be able to hang out with you, Sarah.
Thank you.
I'm so mean to you all the time, but I'm really glad that today was not one of those days.
That's true.
Thank you. I'm glad, we didn't even come close to having to be enemies.
Not even.
Especially now, if you want to be even less enemies, you could make it even better if you have a relative rating of Elantris and Emperor Soul. So actually now, if you go give Elantris a lower score, it actually makes us
even better friends.
Yeah, the Lord of Emperors stuff, that even if you go out and somehow like Elantris more than Emperor Soul, we still don't have to be enemies because you were so positive on Lord of Emperors. That gives you you have a pretty long lead on like whether we become enemies now. You'd really have to.
Whereas my friendship with Alan is just like I threw.
It's a balancing act. Yeah, that's that's a balancing act where like you're getting pushed over and it's and you're managing, but yeah, you're pretty solid, I think, with me right now.
To go into hiding again for a couple of months, just come back up when it's safe.
So, Sarah, since you are no longer a booktuber, what are you reading in the next little while so that people can look forward to when you become a booktuber again? Some stuff that you're gonna talk about.
What am I reading? So right now I'm reading Men at Arms. Which is not only to placate Alan, it's just because I had planned to read it. So that is a truth. I'm reading Men at Arms and The Vanished Birds. So I just started that. And Colton and I are going to read Revival next week, which I'm a little bit nervous about because I've heard it's scary.
It's not scary until later. Most of the book is not scary.
But the end.
I will say it's the only book I can remember that has prevented me from not sleeping, like in my entire life. But most of the book is not that. So
okay, well, we'll see.
Listen,
can we ban Ben?
I'm banning Ben for my entire life. That's what I'm doing. This is so ridiculous. Like,
can we just can you give him a timeout on your Discord, Sarah?
The thing is that he's clearly trolling because he read Emperor's Soul and loved it, and then reread it in the worst way possible. This guy, the only thing he lives for is immersion. He wakes up and breathes immersion for the rest of his day. But instead,
he literally showed up on the stream when we mentioned it.
He read it on his phone in between like tasks at work so that he could read it and he doesn't like digital reading, and he read it digitally, like individual. And then he's like, yeah, it was mid. No, man. First impressions rule. So shut up, Ben.
Please don't bring up the last comment.
I think I just as a personal favor.
I didn't. I'm going to. So it did take me longer than I thought to finish this TBR, mostly because I did all of Seraphium on audio. So it was taking me a lot longer than if I had read it myself because the audiobooks are pretty lengthy. but I am going to finish Live Ship Traders. The books that I have to read right now in April are
finished Live Ship Traders before you started new books.
I know I showed up, but I didn't. I told people I was going to read them with them.
You told people you were going to finish Live Ship Traders.
Honestly, I think this is a con. Here's my new theory. I think you've never started it, and your whole plan is to just keep leading people along that are invested.
I'll get it. There's a bookmark in it. I'll be right back.
Do you think she never started Ship of Destiny, or that she never started Live Ship?
No, there's visual evidence that she did a vlog for Ship of Magic.
Okay.
I think she has no intentions of starting Ship of Destiny.
I believe in Sarah. I think she's just been busy, and we gave her this TBR, and I have complete faith.
I agree with you, but that's not as fun.
This is going to be embarrassing truth because I haven't read that much, but I have read some.
Oh my god, that's like 6 pages.
So little. You barely started it. You're on like
I'm sure you were like, 300,
no,
400
it's
pages.
75 pages. I even spilled something on it. Like, I've been so mean to this book.
That's like chapter 3.
I know. Got my little Pokemon.
It's okay, you'll get there. Oh, that's a nice bookmark.
It's okay. The good news is you did at first delay it to read like one of the few books I like more than Ship of Destiny, which is Lord of Emperors. There's not that many that you could have delayed it for, and I'd be like, you have a point.
I don't. I promise.
It is.
We can't let Ship of Destiny become H's for Hawk.
Correct. Because
have you read Spear Cuts Through Water, or are you starting with The Vanished Bird?
I read Spear Cuts Through Water.
Okay, yeah. And you liked it?
Yep, I liked it. Yep.
Oh, I'm going to be reading it soon. I just couldn't remember if you'd read it.
Also, can we get what was the average star rating for Alan's books? Because we've got like an average star rating here of
way higher. We're
way higher. I think we crushed. Hey, Alan, are you watching
I bet I can remember off the top of my head. Okay, so she DNF'd Sharp because it says so in the scriptures.
I did.
Then it was Senlin Ascends. I think you gave a 3-star to. You were very mid on it.
Mm-hmm.
I still think you will like Arm of the Sphinx better. You should at least give it a try.
Arm of the Sphinx is better, so that makes sense.
Also, I think specifically her criticisms get addressed in that book. And then I'm forgetting some. Folding Knife and Guards were near the end. They were both 5 stars.
And Ogres was 5 stars as well.
There's 5 books. Ogres, yeah, okay.
Oh,
I would have remembered that.
Okay.
3 5-stars, but Lord of Emperors is one of her favorite books of all time. No DNFs and no 3 stars. I think we crushed it.
Yeah, I think we did. To
be fair, Alan, he did give me the Sharp book for me to hate the main character, which I did, or the antagonist. So I did hate the antagonist. He was the worst. That is true.
Also, I wouldn't have pegged you DNFing that book just because you already like Cornwell, and Cornwell does a lot of the same things well. And it's not that you thought it was a bad book. You were just like, I'm so angry. Like, it's almost like he did his job too well. You're like, I'm so angry. This is bad for me. Like,
right. It was. I was like, this is too much. I can't do it. I'm too mad.
But of the 4.5s, eventually in 12 years, when you add them to Goodreads, are you going to which ones are getting rounded up and which are getting rounded down?
Right, that's true. And now I can put it on Goodreads. So I haven't put anything on Goodreads this year because I didn't want to rate these books, but now I can do it. It'll be the weekend of Goodreads. I'll pop up to number 7.
It's your thing. It's your brand.
It's my brand.
My brand is replying to a Discord comment hours later without reading the Discord comments and saying the same thing. And your brand is updating 35 books at once on Goodreads.
What's my brand? Do I get a brand?
Your brand is being highly specific about decimals. Okay. And loving GGK.
Which this is on brand for me, asking whether the 4.5s are going to round up or down. Because in my head, when people say 4.5 round up, I'm like 4.6. And when they round down, I'm like 4.4. 4.4.
Yeah.
All right.
The 2 books that I gave 5 stars in this live stream are the only 2 5-star books I've read this year.
We're killing it.
Yeah. So I haven't read any other 5-star books yet.
For one of them, Kyle's killing it because I had no say in Empire and Black and Gold. But actually, who won between? I guess
it's kind of even.
We kind of tied because you had the 4 and the 5, and then I had 2 4.5s, and then we were combined on Sarah.
And then you combined with
so me and Kyle. I can't say I beat Kyle, but
I'll accept the draw with you, Jake. I'll accept the draw.
Okay,
that's true. No, yeah. So
I have legs.
And not having legs. Yes, that is true.
I have legs.
Do you know the other thing that I have been reading this year that I'm obsessed with that nobody else will care about, which seems to also be my brand now, is just reading things that nobody cares about, is the sports manga Blue Lock, which is the wildest. So I really like sports anime. And Blue Lock, the anime, came out maybe 2 years ago. I don't remember, it came out last year or the year before. But it is the wildest setup for, and like I'm saying this knowing that like anime in general is like pretty wild, but it's a soccer anime or a soccer manga. And the premise is that this guy takes all of the top high school soccer players in Japan and puts them in like a Hunger Games kind of dome and is like, there will be we're trying to make the best striker in the world and only one of you can be it. And if you fail, you're never allowed to play soccer again in your life. So only one of you will ever become a professional soccer player. And so he gets like 300 of them and brings them into this dome and then puts them through all of this like series of tests and trials. And it's so intense. And the first season, the anime was really good and the manga is really good. And I've just been reading it obsessively. So I have been doing almost nothing except reading the digital copies of.
That's what we're replacing Ship of Destiny with.
Yeah, yes. It is. I'm sorry.
I have a grand total of 4 thoughts about this. This got my mind whirling. So number 1 is that actually sounds really cool.
It is cool.
Second is, have you ever read or watched or anything with Battle Royale?
No, but I do have the book. So Andrew has read it. That's the
I read the book. It's really good. I really like the book.
Yeah, so Andrew has watched and read it, I think.
Yeah, I was like obsessed with that for like a few years. Like I've read the book. It's the first manga I ever read. Now that I think about it, because I didn't finish it, but I did read quite a bit of it. Mm-hmm. And then I've watched the movie a bunch of times. OT.
So cute.
Could you guys hear them meowing?
I
started meowing at me. Yeah. I have one really important question.
Okay.
Do you think we should bring chariot racing back into society?
Yes. Definitely.
Okay.
No
it's
question.
An easy choice, but I just thought I should ask. Just so
we can nominate Evie to be our chariot racer. She knows how to handle horses already.
It's true.
I will. If Evie's still here, I will let her know that there's a book coming out that's about the history of the horse, and I put it on my Audible wish list just because I was like, Evie would appreciate this. I had a final thought. Oh, I was at a bookstore recently. I had a bunch of credit, and they had 2 bind-ups of Heaven's Official Blessing. Mm-hmm. And I was going to get them. I was like, oh, well, I don't really have interest in this generally, but Sarah just loves it. I'll give it a try. And then I brought it up there, and they were like, oh, like the manga isn't available for like your credit. So it was like $25. And I just like wasn't expecting to spend money. So I was like, oh, well, like not this time. And then the next time I went, they were gone. So I was so close, but one day I will give it a shot for you.
Right. It is the book that I liked the most last year that I am sure that at least like 90% of the people who watch my channel would hate. So as I was doing, I was like, I love this. Don't read it. Please don't pick it up. But I love it.
So if you were creating my TBR, you wouldn't give me that one?
I would not. No, I would not.
Maybe I should.
Sadly,
these months.
Maybe you should like create TBRs for the 2 of us.
I would like to know.
Ones.
I would like us to go through, and we're gonna just pretend you read all of these in a month for the sake of. We're just gonna lie. It's fine.
Yep.
How many months have had a higher average star rating than this one? What percentile were we?
Than this one? I don't know. Let me.
She does have like all of her stats in a little book.
I do have them. They're just in my book journal. Give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
Okay.
You'll actually get answers, maybe. Ben, what are you freaking out about?
A lot less death is involved in what, Jeff? Also, hello, Jeff. Nice to see you.
I just like to say I am Canadian. I also do have legs. This is slander. It started by Kyle.
It did. And the thing is I feel like I'm a funny individual. And I say lots of things that I think are really funny, and they don't catch on. And for whatever reason, one time I was just like, Jake doesn't have legs. I don't even remember the context. And it just became this whole meme. And I'm like, of all the things that I've ever said, I don't know how this became a thing. But unfortunately, it's true because I have met Jake, and I can confirm he does not have legs.
I have legs. I have to check what my cat's freaking out about. I'll be right back. Oh, never mind. We're good.
Oh, yes. A lot less death involved in modern chariot racing, for sure.
There. Jake, this has clearly got to be the highest one because, like I said, I've only given 2 books 5 stars.
I guess for the year it has to be. I'm wondering like per all-time percentile, which is probably a lot higher.
I thought you meant for the year. Yeah, I feel like she'll have to
last year's book for that, Jake. I should have grabbed that when I was upstairs off the last year's.
Sorry, you can comment
you can
it later.
Back to him. Yeah,
yeah, you can get back announced in the Discord. This was 93rd percentile all time or something. I'll have Kyle liked Instagram posts I had showing me having legs.
I almost commented on them. I was like, oh, I guess you do have legs, but I was like, I feel like your family and stuff are going to be reading that, so I was like, I won't. But
I'm just trying to see what else I read this year that I really liked that was not a book from you guys. Oh, I liked Empire of the Damned, which, if I'm torching my friendship with Alan, I may as well mention that here because it's another J. Kristoff book that I've given 4.5 stars, but I thought it was even better than the first one.
So it's better than Sunland Ascends and
whatever else. It was, in fact, better than Sunland Ascends. I'm sorry.
So I have an Instagram chat going with Jordan Reads and Tall Guy Reads. And they both just read those books. And then Alex went and read all 3 of the Nevernight books. And now he's just obsessed. He's like, Kyle, you have to read these books. And I was like, I don't know. Like
I only read the first Nevernight book and I liked it. But it does have the things that it has. It is very edgy and stuff. But I just really like Empire of the Damned. I don't know. I like those books. I think that they're good. I also thought that, so I've been reading the Regante books and I just read the 3rd one recently. That one was really good too. I gave that one 4.5 stars. I think unlike Guy Gabriel Kay, who I feel like, and I haven't read Finivar, so you can probably tell a quality jump between that and the others. I don't know, but I feel like his writing has always been solid. He's an excellent writer, and he did a lot of editing and stuff before he even published his own books. But with, oh good Lord. See, my brain's not working. Yes, David Gemmell. Thank you. I need to start making videos again before my brain leaks out of my ears. But David Gemmell, you can tell a big improvement. So when you read the books that he wrote at the beginning of his career versus the books that he wrote kind of closer to the end, they definitely get better over time. And the Regante books, even if you like the content or the characters of some of the other books better, I think that the quality does go up as you continue through the series. But yeah. I am also enjoying those books, so that's good. I'm going to finish out that series sometime soon as well.
I have a giant stack of David Gemmell paperbacks that I have not read, and I'm just like, it kills me to see that giant stack, and I haven't read any of them. So I really need to, because Legend was, every single David Gemmell book I've read has been super, super good. So
it's good. There's a couple things about David Gemmell that you have to accept. So it's 80s fantasy for in the beginning at least, and he definitely that flair stays with it. It's classic fantasy. There's going to be insta love. There's going to be people who meet on one page and love each other more than anything else in the world 2 sentences later. And if you can accept that, and you can accept that it's going to follow a somewhat expected arc, then I think that you would really like David Gemmell. I think anybody would like his fantasy books as long as you're willing to accept some tropes and archetypes.
Yeah, so for Legend, there's an insta love in that, and I brushed up really hard against it when I was starting the book. I was like, this is ridiculous. But by the time you get deeper into the book, it's everything else about the book is so good that I just didn't care. So
yeah, and it keeps happening. That happens all the time in his books. That he's a man will see a woman across the valley, and she'll be the most beautiful thing he's ever seen, and then he loves her forever and ever and always. And you just gotta be
Legend?
I have read Legend.
Oh, okay. I thought you hadn't. I know that's good.
Yeah.
Jake, read some David Gemmell.
Okay.
Start with the Troy trilogy because it's the best.
It is the best.
I think I have that on my want to read. Let's see.
I love how loud your typing is. I know in real life it's not that loud, but
it's because it's just next to my mic.
Yeah, it must be right next to you.
Usually I try and mute my mic when I type, but I just forgot to this time, and then I was like, whatever.
It's okay.
Oh, I don't have this. Okay. Oh, that's because it's Troy 2. I think I have Troy 1. Lord of the Silver Bow. Want to read. I do. I have that. It's on the list. I don't know
Very
that.
good book.
But,
yeah.
So good.
Jake, what are you reading right now? Just Oathbringer?
I'm reading The Lonesome Crown by Brian Lee Durfee. And it's really good so far. I still for some reason I remember, even though I like The Blackest Heart more than I like The Forgetting Moon, I remember what happened at the end of The Forgetting Moon. I read The Blackest Heart a long time ago because the book wasn't out, and then I kept stalling it because it's long, and I was like, I don't remember anything, but I was just I have to bite the bullet. This is only getting worse. And I still have no clue what happened at the end of The Blackest Heart, but I'm enjoying it anyways because it's really good. Durfee's a good writer. So
I started the first book and I think I went on vacation and that's why I stopped it. Yes, because I was reading what is the name of that first book? It's over there.
Empire of Silence.
Oh.
No,
Forgetting Moon.
no, it was the Long Price Quartet guy. His other series.
Dragon's
Widow's
Path.
House. Dragon's Path.
The first one, if that's the first one, the Dragon's Path.
Yeah.
I was reading that at the same time as the first Brian Lee Durfee book, and I was going on vacation, and I was like, I only have room in my brain for one of these like dense fantasy books, and I was enjoying the Dragon's Path more, probably in great part due to the fact that Brian Lee Durfee put a whale hunting scene in like one of the first chapters of that book, and I was like, I don't need this on my vacation. I don't need to read about people in the water.
Forgetting Moon has the randomest non sequitur about like women's breasts, and that's the only time that like I don't know what I think he was trying to make a joke. I don't know what the deal was, but it was like a really intense conversation like 5 characters had about a woman's breast, and I was like, what? And that was the only time I was just like, this is such a weirdly bizarre thing for him to put in this book. And that's what I thought you were going to say. But then I was like, wait, that's pretty late in the book. So then you got to the whaling. And I was like,
it was the whales. It was the whaling. I feel like I have to read it, though. I cannot. Brian Lee Durfee made my favorite booktube review of all time. And so I have to read
Redwall.
It's actually not. It's the Watership Down one. But the Redwall one is great, too.
Yeah. Talking rabbits.
Right. It's only because I love Watership Down more than I love Redwall. But the Redwall one is fantastic.
I haven't even read Redwall, but just him being like trying to figure out the scale for the entire review.
Sometimes, so my wife doesn't really like get booktube. Like I'll show her a video if I think it's like particularly good or funny or something. And like almost all times she doesn't really understand why I think like a booktube video is funny. Like I have to explain a lot of context to her because like we have like our own little like in jokes or like things we all do. But I showed her that review and she just like could not stop laughing. And I was like, oh good. Okay, so this is just like funny regardless. Like
universally funny. Everything about him is funny. Like I remember when he went on with Mike once and like books were falling off the shelf and like things
like so obviously he's dealing with like a health thing right now, right?
Yes. And he's doing better now.
His first video back, he had one of the funniest lines where he's like sounds really rough, and he's like, I know this isn't the funniest video I've ever done because I've done some funny fucking videos. And I love how even in this state he's like, I'm not saying this video isn't funny.
No, that video actually, like, I mean, it was very, very hard to watch, but it was very funny. Like there's one part where like his monitor beeps, and he's like, I think I just died. I think that was me. I just died, and I was like, oh man, oh what a gem! I'm so glad he's doing better.
Also, I just think it's good. How do you feel about the fact that before this, you had read one combined Louis Bujold and Ursula K. Le Guin book? And how does it feel to now escape the hating women allegations?
That's true. That's true. If I can only finish Ship of Destiny, I can prove that I do not, in fact, hate women. So I have to read that.
I guess it's still a little...
Like I hate women because Jake chose all the women books. And I chose the man books.
That's true. You hate everything.
I haven't even read these lady books. So
these lady books. oh dear.
Well,
all right. Well,
your defense can be you've each read one Bujold book. The one you read has a woman protagonist, so you've got Sarah there. So
there you go.
Sarah still hasn't escaped the allegation. Yeah.
Is Kirsta Chalian a male POV?
Yeah.
I just thought it was a woman for some reason. I'm just
Paladin of Souls.
Women only write about women, clearly. You know.
Paladin of Souls is woman POV, which you'll also like, Sarah. Bujold's super consistent from what I've read. Maybe I've only read a lot of her like books that are considered better, but she's been like incredibly consistent so far.
Jake is biased because right before he started the binge, he talked to one of his favorite authors, Jim Butcher. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Sarah. And he was like, Louis Bujold is like one of the best writers of all time. And then Jake was like, sounds good. And then he immediately started. And I'm like, I feel like this is bias.
I already really liked Bujold. Okay.
That's good.
Is Bujold, has nothing to do with anything that we've talked about. But I feel like, is she the person who wrote like a random rant about Patrick Rothfuss's third King Killer book and how it wasn't out? I remember there was one famous author, one like older famous author who wrote something about it, and I was just like,
I don't know. I don't think it would be based on what I know about her, but like, I mean, it's possible. Rothfuss's
Bujold Doors of Stone.
Are you guys
I thought they had like the same publisher or something.
They do have the same publisher, so you might be right.
I don't remember what it was, but something came up. Like, I don't know if she reviewed it or she said something about like the publisher, or it might have been at the same time, like around when I don't know what happened.
About, like, it's a rant about the third book not being out, or is it a rant about one of the 2 published books?
No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was about the third book being out, and I don't remember exactly what it was now. But if I do find it, I just remember seeing it and being like, "That is very random. Like, why? Why did this happen?"
I'll look it up after. But this was a great success. I'm very happy to say that I'm glad we chose the right books. Jake is muted. Am I muted?
I'm muted. I said that we're good at picking books. Let's go. And Sarah's good at reading books well. Not quickly, but well.
That's when I'm actually reading them, it goes quickly. It's starting them that's the issue.
It's true. I mean, I've trended down. I thought I was washed up, and then I read 9 Vorkoskin books in like 8 days while on vacation, and I was like, I got this still. I'm not washed up.
Right? Imagine when your brain's like 10 years older. That's where I'm sitting.
But I think we haven't. Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah, you are really young, Jake.
Yeah. I'm already washed up.
I have to remember how young you are when I talk to my coworkers that are your age, and I'm like, man, they're young. But I'm like, you know what? Jake has his head about himself. It's not that they're young; it's that they're stupid. Because I like when I'm working with like 22, 23-year-olds, and they. Oh well, there you go. That's why that last little year.
Yeah, that year. Hey, I was an idiot 2 years. No, I haven't changed that much in the last year.
They'll like make a mistake. I'm like, it's because they're young. They don't know. No, like Jake knows what he's doing. So
hey, I do dumb things all the time as well.
Sure, you do. You're 23. You're 22.
But you know what? I'm expecting to still do dumb things when I'm 30, and I'm expecting to still do dumb things when I'm 40, and I'm expecting to still do dumb things when I'm 50. And actually, I'm expecting at that point, like then 60, for it to trend back up.
Right. So, it's going to get dumber from there.
Yeah. Like
61-year-old Jake is going to be a menace.
I'm expecting a gradual trend down in dumbness that still results in being pretty far above 0, and then a trend up, back up.
Like, amazing. All right.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. And Sarah, I just want to say I give you a lot of flack, and you're my favorite pirate booktuber, but I think you're an awesome friend. You are an awesome booktuber, and you're an awesome fantasy reader. And come back to BookTube. Stop, living with your family and stuff. Make videos.
That's true.
And Jake, I see you all the time, but keep making videos, man. Keep
yeah. You don't.
Yeah.
All right. You said nice things about me that time you were drunk on Discord, and that meant more than anything you say so far. So.
Yeah, when
yes.
I'm drunk,
come
I say nice things.
Discord. You too can bully me into reading books.
Yes, it does work eventually. It takes a few years.
Bullying is good, actually.
That's the takeaway. Bullying is good. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, chat. You always make things more fun.
Indeed.